Yeah, so this is just a good start of just showing how much he trusts Diggs and just an example of why you would trust Diggs so much. I mean, again, a pass and a catch, even just ignoring blocking is a relationship. You're not shooting on a basket, right? I'm not shooting into a stationary object. I'm throwing to a person. And that is going to affect my accuracy, my timing, all those things based on how good that receiver is, how much separation he creates, how much I trust him. And there's really no receiver in the league you would trust more than Stefon Diggs, and you'll see why. I actually think this is a great example of both players because Allen goes through his reads great. They're going to run like they're going to motion, and they're going to run like a kind of a three-man concept in the sense it kind of ends up being almost like a full field read. They're going to run the crosser. That's going to sort of be doubled or poached by the opposite safety, I believe. I'm kind of going off memory here. We'll have to look at the play. And then there's going to be like a short in route. That's kind of his next read. That's well covered. He comes off that. And then he throws the ball with great anticipation. And you'll start to see it's basically just an ISO route with Diggs on the outside. It's just Diggs creates like 7 yards of separation. And it's like, yeah, of course, you would throw it early in that situation because look at this guy. I mean, again, if you don't watch a lot of NFL receivers, this is not normal. Guys don't win this much on this route. I mean, that's ridiculous. I could make that throw. I mean, obviously not. I probably can't even throw a football quite well. I don't know. I'm not. Maybe I could. Certainly not with the velocity necessary. But so it's just that's why you have trust in that guy is because he's creating that separation. When you're making that throw to Demir Bird, who I like, but like the difference between Demir Bird and Stefon Diggs is a galaxy. I mean, this is ridiculous. And again, great play by Josh, but it's the type of thing that just wouldn't have been available to him last year. So he could be playing quarterback the exact same way, exact same set of decisions. You get to this third read. Well, it's whoever, maybe it's John Brown. John Brown's a good player. Is John Brown creating 7 yards of separation on this comeback? Probably not. And that makes you a little more hesitant to pull the trigger on this throw. It makes it less likely to be accurate because you have to place the ball in a perfect spot in order for it to be a completion. But yeah, I mean that again, and let just take a look at it from the end zone angle too, and watch Allen go through these. Oops, sorry, go through these reads. No, no, throw. Good play. And again, superstar on the outside, absolute superstar. This is another good play, just kind of a good example of a few things. One, just how much better the offensive structure is not delaying guys as much with chips in the route. I mean, one thing you'd see like back in the Carolina Panthers days with Cam, they'd run these like sail concepts, but the back or whoever was running the flat would have to chip. Well, now the guy you're trying to get not to bite up and who's an NFL player is just getting depth, because he doesn't even see a threat to the flat yet. You saw that with Allen too. I didn't, unfortunately didn't pull an example of it, but you definitely saw that with the Bills in 2019. It's just not happening in 2020. A couple of things with Allen here. I really like what he does, the way he works the pocket, the way he gives this play every opportunity. I mean, people talk about holding the ball as a negative for quarterbacks, but it's not. Patience is great. I mean, if you want to hit plays down the field, you want your quarterback to be comfortable in the pocket, holding the ball, reading through his progressions, and you got to trust your line to block. And then also as a quarterback, you have to sense pressure. And if you need to get rid of the ball or escape, then you do it. The thing I don't like here is while he goes through those reads and he gives this play every chance, I think something that Cam, is exceptional at was getting, and there's other quarterbacks too. That's just a guy I have as a reference point. Exceptional at getting to his backside dig. And the backside dig is there on this play. And you'd like to see him after he kind of steps up and gets through that kind of sail concept read here, just hit the dig. It's open. And you can see what I'm talking about here. That guy's open. Sometimes there's another safety there or whatever, depending on the structure of the defense. It isn't really open, and people say, well, it is. This is. I mean, he could absolutely make this throw. We can take a look at it in slow-mo here. Hits the back. Again, I love that he works. He steps up. He gives Beasley every chance to win on this route. It's not there. Taking off, or sorry, I think eventually he tries to throw it. And this is basically a throwaway. So either take off and run there, which I don't know if he had the space to do. I think he did. Yeah, so either take off and run there, or throw that dig is the better thing. He could square up here, come to that dig and hit it, I think. I think there's a time for that. And that's something that a lot of times guys don't learn until a little later, and it's something Allen, I think, hopefully, if they're coaching him well, He'll get to that, and I think he'll learn that probably. But yeah, that's something you would see Cam Newton do all the time in Carolina. They love tagging these concepts with the backside dig, and he was terrific at it. Okay, so another 1st and 10. This is a cool throw, great throw, and cool that he anticipates this. But a point I want to make about a lot of these throws that guys make like this. You see Mahomes make throws like this for sure. You kind of need great offensive structure for this even to be an opportunity. They're going to run this. I don't know. I honestly don't know what this concept is called, but basically, you're going to run two deep overs with these guys. I think the back or somebody's going to come out and run it over this way, and then these guys are running like slightly shallower overs this way. So it's kind of this cool, like big, like sort of vertical and horizontal stretch at the same time. And what's going to happen is there's just going to be a huge amount of space here. And I talk about again leverages, grass, and throwing lanes. So it's an impressive level of anticipation from Allen. It's a good throw given the pressure and all those things. But again, I don't like appreciate the degree to which this throw is not possible unless this guy is absolutely wide the fuck open. Because he has to, because he's getting hit, because he has to throw it, like this ball it takes a while to get there for one, and he has to wait on it and then catch it. And that is not a criticism. This is a great throw. But my point is if you can't get this many guys out into the pattern, you can't stress the defense like this, and you can't create this giant hole to throw into, then this is, you cannot, on a lot of plays when quarterbacks are pressured, this is not an option. Because this much pressure, a throw like this is sort of your only option, kind of a looping throw that the receiver has to wait. If everybody's well covered, even if this guy is open but doesn't have an ocean of space to run into, the throw is not an option. So again, so much of even good plays by quarterbacks are dependent on what is available to you. And I can tell you, again, if you watch quarterback play with any kind of discernment, you know that a lot of times with this much pressure, there is nothing like this kind of throw available to the quarterback. So much of what happens versus the blitz versus pressure has nothing to do with the quarterback. Now, does Kirk, on the flip side, does Kirk Cousins make this throw? Probably not. Does Jimmy Garoppolo make this throw? Probably not. So it's both, but you still need both to do it. You could be a great quarterback and not have this throw available to you, and now you're just taking a sack. And that doesn't change anything about how great you are. Again, I thought this is just an interesting play, just to kind of use it as a jump off point for the idea of holding the ball. See, again, I think a lot of this is broadcast view stuff where why is the quarterback holding the ball? He needs to get the ball out. Do you want to throw the ball downfield? Do you? Or would you like to just check it down all day? Would you like to get chunk gains? There is no set amount of time. People use like time to throw. Well, what's the concept? What's it designed to do? The ball needs to come out when the design of the play dictates it needs to come out. It's your offensive line's job to block it up well enough. Now, again, of course, if there's immediate pressure or whatever, should the quarterback try to find the flat or get rid of the ball, whatever. Yes, but again, the quarterback's a human being. There's limitations to what any even great quarterback can accomplish. So Allen holds the ball, and again, holding the ball is a good trait to me. Somebody who isn't oblivious but has the patience to work those downfield concepts and is willing to hang into the pocket. I like this from Allen. And you see a lot of people talk about lack of anticipation, again, on these types of throws. I've seen it with people criticizing Cam this year. Again, you go through routes like this, an over route from the other side of the field, kind of running a sail. I mean, I'm sure there are all kinds of names, but it's a 3-level stretch, essentially. Like, guys don't throw this ball before the guy crosses the hash. I mean, this isn't, again, that's part of my problem with this anticipation concept is people, when something goes wrong, they decide anticipation is the problem without comparing it to plays where it works out and seeing, oh, actually he threw it the exact same time another guy would. And just there's other reasons why the play didn't work. So again, I think there's sort of this almost like assumption that every play the quarterback could do something to make the play work. And when you work from that framework, when the play doesn't work, you start making up things the quarterback should have done. And here, so what I like too about this is I love the route Beasley runs here, how he flattens himself. because what you really don't want as a quarterback is defenders between you and your receiver. I see a lot of that too with criticizing accuracy, not taking into account the fact that any throw that you have to make where there's a defender between you and the receiver in the path of the ball is an insanely high difficulty throw. Um, and this, the way Beasley runs this route, now he is between the defender and the quarterback. And now there's a clean throwing lane. And I don't, this would take somebody who is honest about how this play is coached and doesn't, again, I think a lot of like sort of former quarterbacks and stuff like that make up bullshit about when the ball should be released. And I wish they would, study this stuff a little closer and not pretend that the ball should come out sooner than it should. But I'd be willing to hear that this ball could come out a little bit earlier. But I think, realistically, the throwing lane for this play is in this part of the field, not this part of the field. So to me, when Allen chooses to throw, again, I also think part of it is seeing Beasley declare his route downhill. Is again just the more understanding you can have of where your receiver's going, where he is in position relative to the defender, the better. Obviously, this, you hold it too long, you risk this guy getting up into this throwing lane, and certainly the guy threatens a little bit, but ultimately, ball's well placed. Beasley makes a nice catch, and that's why you hold the ball to make throws like that. Just wanted to include a few plays here just to show the degree to which like the dumb stuff Allen was doing before, which I didn't include a lot of. I thought it was overrated. I didn't really feel like he was doing a ton of dumb stuff before. And two, like he's still making dumb mistakes at times. Like again, all quarterbacks do. Obviously some of the really really veteran guys don't. Mahomes makes tons of dumb mistakes. I mean, like some of that's just his play style. I was a big fan of Mahomes, and part of what I said was, yeah, he's a risk taker to a certain extent, but he makes it worth it. And I think a lot of what Kansas City's been able to do, one, he's been insanely lucky this year with drop picks, which is fine. I like that is not a criticism. I think part of what people need to accept is none of these guys are perfect. The best players still make mistakes. And I think like you could even I don't disagree with the criticism of Rodgers, who's my favorite player, that he is like a little bit careful with the ball at times, whereas a guy like Mahomes is like just like fuck it, I'm gonna throw it all over the yard. And I think that, and he's also smart. Like he's not a dumb risk taker. There just are. It's like in basketball, the most creative passers and then some of the best passers often also have high turnover rates, relatively speaking. They're not crazy high. They're usually still good at taking care of the ball. It's just like if you're going to be a creative passer, if you're going to be an aggressive thrower, and you have the talent to do so, you're going to make some dumb decisions. You're going to make some dumb passes. And I think the trade-off is worth it. Even in football where you don't have the possessions to make up for it, I still think that's worth it. And I'm again not criticizing Mahomes. I just wish people would talk about Mahomes like he's an actual human being and not like he's in control of that entire offense. And if Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill were taken off the team, he'd still be amazing, which he would still be the same player, but his statistical production would be half of what it is probably. So let's again, this is kind of just I don't think Allen, he goes through his reads fine, all that stuff, but this is just a stupid decision and a bad throw, and it probably should be a pick. So he's still doing stuff like this. He's still doing, quote unquote Josh Allen stuff, but the offense around him is so good, the structure's so good, they're maximizing his skills that it just doesn't matter, and so the production's there. Yeah, and so one thing I wanted to talk about too is just kind of the synergy of Allen and Diggs, and what Diggs has brought to this offense, how great a fit. And I said this, in the offseason, people were kind of like, "Oh, poor Diggs, he's going from Cousins to Josh Allen," and I was like, "Oh, I mean, this was even before I had this opinion of Allen, which I think is a lot higher than a lot of people might expect." I was like, "I don't know, man. Like, you watch the film and." There's so many plays being left on the field because Kirk is just a limited physical talent and he can't maximize what Diggs does. You really don't see on film anymore Diggs beating guys and not getting an opportunity to make a play on the ball because Allen's a terrific thrower. I mean, he just incredible arm talent. Like I said, I think he's pretty deadly accurate too. And so you kind of get this synergistic effect that takes the Bills, just adding Diggs with a quarterback who maximizes his skill set into an offense that already had, while it was a limited group of talent without Diggs, had the pieces to kind of fit around him since he gives them that like elite skill guy. They went from like, I don't know, it was like 24th in offensive DVOA to I think they're like fourth or fifth, something like that this year. And that's Diggs. I mean, it's the Diggs effect. It's Diggs putting everything into place for them. And I think also Diggs was not getting to the same token. Like, I'm not saying the quarterback doesn't matter. That is not my take. My point is that the quarterback only matters but so much in a game where 10 other people are playing. But in the context of Stefon Diggs and Kirk Cousins, Diggs was not impacting that offense as much as he should have, because he didn't have a quarterback who could take advantage of how good he is along the sideline, deep to intermediate. Those are the worst places for Cousins. There were so many plays. You could see why Stefon Diggs would be frustrated on film, why he probably did want out, because he was making so many plays. And these guys are human beings, man. Like, anyone who's ever played a sport knows, when you're making plays for a team, but your teammates are letting you down, which is what Kirk Cousins was doing with relative to Stefon Diggs, you are not happy. I don't care what guys say in the media, you are not happy. And they're smart enough to know. So I think that part of the reason that, like, Minnesota's offense hasn't fallen off with Diggs, one, is replacing him with Justin Jefferson, who's obviously played super well. But two, I don't think they were actually getting the full potential out of Diggs because of Kirk Cousins' limitations at quarterback. And you look at, like, Buffalo's stats. Last year they had John Brown had like 1,000 yards. I think Cole Beasley had like 700, and the next highest receiver had like 300 yards. So you start to see, and now Diggs this year, he's going to go over 1,500 yards. Beasley's going to hit 1,000. And then the combination, because Brown has been out in and out, but basically the combination of sort of like who's been playing their third receiver is going to get like 6, 7, 800 yards. So you start to see the way putting a guy like Diggs into that offense allows the entire offense to produce. And again, I just don't see a change in Allen at quarterback. I see the same basic player. Guys don't change that much. Now, maybe relative to his rookie year, I don't know. Like, I didn't go back that far. But there's a lot of discussion about how much better Josh Allen got between 2019 and 2020, and I don't see it. What I see is, and this makes sense, again, this is the most logical explanation, is that Allen was already a pretty damn good quarterback last year in a relatively talent-devoid offense, and now he's a very good quarterback in an offense with good talent. I wouldn't say this is like the most talented group in the league, but you've got the best receiver in the league and then some pretty good supporting pieces and a quarterback who can make plays both in and out of structure. That's a recipe for real production. And then, like, so this is the play, is what I want to talk about. These are the types of plays you would see Cousins just pass up or miss the throw or whatever. A lot of times you just wouldn't throw it. But Josh is going to throw this every time and it's on the money. And Kirk just doesn't. I mean, a lot of it is Kirk just doesn't even have the arm for this type of stuff. They also, good example too. This is clean. You don't see this very often, and it's part of the advantage of throwing on first down. It's why taking shots on first down is great. That's how you end up with pockets like this. You just don't see pockets like this in the NFL, and that's part of the reason he's able to hit this throw. If you want to be throwing deep down the sideline, yeah, you want pockets like that if you can get them, because deep sideline throw is toughest throw in sports. I mean, it's not a high percentage throw. Even from a clean pocket, this isn't a high percentage throw. That's why it always kind of bugs me. People are like, oh, you got to hit that. It's like, I got to hit my half court shots too, but they don't. I mean, it's probably slightly extreme, but you get what I'm saying. I mean, this is not an easy throw, but at least you have the quarterback and the wide receiver to make it a worthwhile attempt, because the value is so high to completing it. All right, 3rd down and 6. Again, this is why you got to have a guy. Every great offense, again, go through them. I'm sorry, you won't find one. Every great quarterback season, you won't find one where there's not a guy. At least statistically. I think you can find plenty of examples of quarterbacks playing really well in bad situations, and it's not there to protect. And everyone will say they're having a down season, when the reality is they're playing the exact same they always have. It's just that the team sucks. And again, you're one person out of 10. I'm going to say that a lot because apparently that's some kind of radical take now. They're going to run double post here. I think Beasley kind of gets rerouted, so it looks a little goofy. Diggs is going to run it deep over. Ridiculous throw by Allen. Ridiculous anticipation, pressure in his face, all that stuff. And again, I'm not taking away from that. This is great stuff. I mean, ridiculous throw. Anyone can see that. My point is, how many guys in the league do you even trust enough to make this throw? How many guys in the league do you trust to just run by this guy and create this much separation at the cat? Like, that's just that is hard to trust. There are not many guys that in a gotta have it situation like this, third down pressure in your face, that you're going to willingly, especially probably, if you're really being like real nitpicky here, maybe just take the check down. But I don't really care. I think this is cool. Uh, and kind of goes to the point of like how many guys can just run by that defensive back, beat him that bad. Um, some of it might be luck too. I mean, again, when you throw the ball this early, you are taking a risk. If maybe this guy sort of bites on this, it's a little hard to tell. And if he just kind of keeps running, maybe he can interfere with the play. I don't know if the end zone angle gives us a little bit better read of that. I don't think it does. But regardless, again, ridiculous throw. Don't get me wrong, but also a really nice catch and a play from a guy who you trust. There's just not very many players in the league you trust the way a quarterback will trust Stefon Diggs. Weirdly, Kirk Cousins didn't seem to, but that seems to be a Kirk problem. All right, moving on to the Pittsburgh game. I thought this was a good pair because I think in the last game, and obviously, I only showed you so many plays. You go back and watch it yourself. But in the last game, there's just a lot of things that like, and you can look at the production, watch the whole game. But Josh Allen has really good production. I can't remember the yard. Good yards per attempt, good total volume, good touchdowns. Because the team around him is better than the defense they're playing. And what you see in this Pittsburgh game is the talent is much closer to even. And so what does Josh Allen do? He throws for 55% completion percentage, 5-something yards per attempt. But Josh Allen's the same player. He doesn't play worse in this game, really. I don't think he makes particularly poor decisions. But the coverage is better. The pass rush is better. There's just not a lot he can do. And so again, this is why I don't, so if we're going on production, Josh Allen played bad this game and good in the other game. Really good in the other game. But that's, to me, not the case. I mean, the difference is it's kind of like comparing the two seasons. Josh Allen's the same player, but in one year he's in a really good situation, and the other year he's in an okay to subpar situation. So, but there's still some good examples too of even saying that how much better the offense is this year. And this is a good example. Is they're going to run, again, they're going to get into empty, something that they did some of. And I actually think he showed that he could run empty last year, that they just weren't comfortable because they didn't have good pass catching threats to do that. You need five good, or at least four very good pass catching threats, to do that. And I also think having an anchor like Diggs allows you to get into these types of sets a little easier. And you'll see throughout the game. I can't remember exactly all the different plays I have queued up, but Pittsburgh definitely gives them trouble with them getting into empty just because of how good their pass rush is. But he's going to throw this little out to Beasley. And I just like what I want to point out here is a really nice play, great production. Nothing Josh Allen couldn't have done last year. And it's just it's just offensive structure. The way this plays out, it ends up a really easy throw, really easy catch, great run out of the catch, ton of space for the wide receiver. And I think it's just a good example of this is what the offense is more like this year versus last year, which of course you can find plays like this last year too. I just mean this is more of an example of what the offense is like. And as far as timing goes, maybe this could be out just a tick earlier. He kind of pats it and then throws it. I don't really have a huge problem with that. I mean, he's a young guy. It's not the end of the world. I do think this could come out a half, not even half second, half beat sooner. But again, that's not worth criticizing to me at this point. This will be quick. Josh throws an interception here. I'll just run it while I talk. I don't really have a problem overall with this. It depends on how you read this play. I mean, the pressure gets to him very quickly, which that shouldn't happen, obviously, but it does. It's Casey Hayward. Shit happens. I think again, to me, it's all about can you defend the process? Does it make sense? To me, Allen here is just trying to throw the ball away, and when he tries, his arm gets hit. And so then you have what you have. It's also possible he's just trying to throw it. It's a like I'm super talented. I can hit this throw. It's really tough to know because his arm gets hit. If to me, if the decision here was I'm just going to try to huck this ball to the sideline and get rid of it and get it out, I have no problem with that. If he thought he could complete this, yeah, that's probably a little bit more questionable of a decision. Part of the reason I think that is I don't think the wheel is the throw here, and that's kind of the trajectory the ball takes. I feel like he should probably be fitting this into Diggs. And so that's why I think he's probably just trying to get rid of it. And unfortunately, his arm gets hit while he's throwing it. And that's a split second decision. A guy with his big arm, you probably think, oh, yeah, I can get this out. Then you can't. Again, this is a sport. Sometimes mistakes happen. The process of that thought process makes sense to me and I think is fine. Okay, so just wanted to show this as an example of a couple things. Josh Allen's still missing throws. I kind of agree with Bill Belichick, who was kind of asked about that, and he said like, "Well, I don't think Allen's accuracy has really changed. I thought he was, perfectly fine with his accuracy last year." Agreed. I think that and you'll see it again. Quarterbacks still miss. They miss throws. It happens. It's not. I think there are guys who are too inaccurate for sure, but a lot of what people do is if you've in your head decided a guy isn't accurate enough, when he misses the throw, it's proof of something. And if you've decided in your head that a guy is accurate, you'll find every excuse for why his inaccurate throw is actually a throwaway or blah 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 or whatever. So don't do that. Is my advice to you. It just misses the throw. But again, another thing I want to talk about too is, go back, encourage all you Zach Wilson fans to really go back and watch his reps again, because these are the kind of throws. This is NFL. This is the NFL. These are the throws you have to make. You don't get to step into your throw all the way. I don't think this is like insane pressure, but this is not clean. He does not get to step into his throw perfectly and finish his, he kind of has to fade away. There's a certain level of fading to this throw that if you're talking about from a pure physics perspective, from a pure, like, what would you want to be able to do? You'd want to be able to swing all the way through this throw, but he can't because he'll just get crushed by this guy. And there's a lot of guys, man. Every year, people want to get excited about guys who are playing 7-on-7 at the college level. And and they judge arm talent that way too. And really arm talent to me is what can you do with guys in your face in a crowded pocket, and then can you work the sidelines from the far hash too is another good. What kind of velocity can you put on the ball? Not how far can you throw the ball. What kind of velocity can you put on the ball? I think people are kind of overrating Zach Wilson's arm because I think his arm is fine. I don't see it as a particularly high end arm, mostly because of the types of throws he's being asked to make. Yeah. All right, I just put this one on here because this is just an example of the ridiculous talent that Josh Allen has. This is one of the best throws I've seen all year. It's not a complete pass, but that doesn't change how ridiculous this throw is. I mean, look at, I mean, unbelievable. That ball travels, I mean, just in distance, we're not, measuring the hypotenuse, which is what the ball really travels. So it's an additional however many yards, but it's like a 50-yard throw, 45-yard throw, falling away with a guy about to hit him. He almost completes this. Obviously, had he had even a little bit more time, he could get a little more on it because the guy was open for sure. But yeah, that's pretty insane. That he almost completes this. I just had to put this on there because that's insane arm talent. And quick, this is why Stefon Diggs is worth so much. This is why every great offense needs a guy like this. It's because you need guys that make plays like this, 3rd and 3. And ridiculous. That's just not, there aren't but a handful of guys in the league that can even think of making plays like that. It's kind of funny at a certain point in this game. A lot of it just becomes, I guess the only guy in this team that's going to get open, the only way we're going to run offense against this Pittsburgh defense is just to throw it to Diggs every time. Obviously I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not really. Again, this is quick, but just look how scared this cornerback is of Diggs. Look how well he manipulates his space. Look how much separation he has. He can. Again, that's just not. If you don't have a guy of that level of talent, those types of plays aren't available to you as just a good example of the type of value that Allen brings to an offense, and why I think I am pretty high on him as a player right now after watching these games. Gonna bring a zero blitz here. They do a good job of driving up on top of the kind of crosser over the middle. That's not going to be a first down if he throws it. I mean, ridiculous throw. Ability to just run outside the pocket and make this throw. Again, ridiculous. And kind of also the point of like, no one criticizes Tom Brady when he can't make this play, but he can't. So, on any sack, it's just interesting the way when you can't do something outside of structure, you can't make a play physically. Um, if you're an in-structure guy and you're one of the you don't get those criticisms for not being physically capable of doing great stuff. And I don't, but the reverse applies often sort of disingenuously too. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. But main point here, just that's special. This is simple stuff. It's Stefon Diggs. Uh, these plays aren't available to you. Wide receivers don't run routes like this. There just aren't even historically. Look at that. Look at how badly he beats that corner. That's not normal. Not even close to normal. And again, that has nothing to do with the quarterback. All that does is give the quarterback the opportunity to make this play. It's a good throw by Allen, especially with that pressure. I'm just saying, if you don't have a guy open by 10 yards, you just take a sack there. There's no play to be made. If a guy's tightly covered, maybe you try to throw it and you throw a pick. These are the things that matter to your analysis of why a quarterback is or isn't producing and how well he is or isn't playing. 2019 2020 Josh Allen, the difference is Stefon Diggs. This is a good example of kind of the importance of leverages and conflicting defenders and concepts and things like that. We talk a lot about understanding the structure, this is cover 3 or 4 or 7 or 6, is, what play are they running? Is this, sail, is this spot, blah, blah, blah. A lot of times it comes down to, we're going to run a concept to put this defender in conflict. And I think what you see at the college level is those conflicted defenders often make the read very easy. I think in the NFL, these guys are a lot better. They're a lot smarter. They're a lot more athletic, and they don't just give you a clean read. And that's why I think if you're a really good quarterback, you understand that. And you understand that sometimes, as long as you have the time, holding the ball and trying to force that defender to commit, whether that be through pump fakes, shoulder fakes, body positioning, is to your advantage. And that's why I also get upset with some of these anticipation comments because again, you don't understand what's going on. You don't understand what the sport is like to play. You don't understand what the goal of the play is. You don't understand dynamic problem solving. And so you think you're ahead of the quarterback. You think you understand the game better than the quarterback does, but you don't. Now, again, are there times I'm sure where I'm getting things wrong? Of course there are. But I think I have a better sense for that stuff than most people do. Just from closely observing how these guys play and knowing what it is to try and make those decisions, what it is to try and influence players, because influencing players is a huge part of it. You can't just willy-nilly get rid of the ball because it's time to get rid of the ball. All those things are sort of abstract concepts that are used as sort of filters or signposts for decision making, but they aren't the actual act of decision making itself. So, anyways, we're gonna conflict this guy. And I think this is a great play by Allen on a couple levels. I mean, he waits this guy out. I mean, it's perfect. I'm gonna play it in fast motion. But as soon as the guy does a good job, get depth. As soon as he gives any indication that he is no longer going to continue to get depth, Allen rips the ball. And that's perfect. Again, it's not anticipation. If he throws this too soon, this guy will just keep getting depth. It's an interception or it's incomplete. But because he gives it long enough for this guy to hesitate, this guy to take this bait, boom, ball's over the top of him. And another thing, mechanics. Allen's ability to make this throw without ever having to change his body position, without ever having to readjust, is huge. If I have to shift my body, reset to throw this, that's a cue to the defender. So you want to talk all you want about fancy mechanic. This isn't great. He's stepping the wrong way, blah, 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 blah. It's like shooting a fadeaway. It's like shooting a three on the move. You can't do those things with perfect mechanics, but if you can find a way to do them effectively, it gives you advantages, which is being able to do things that don't give defenders cues. So again, talk about these things in context. Understand what's going on, understand what the value of certain things is, and don't just wholly dismiss them because you think playing quarterback is like a golf swing. The last time I checked, golfers don't have people running at them. They don't have to fold defenders. They don't like golfing is standing. I think I could be wrong, but from what I understand from golfing, you put the ball on the tee, no one's around you, and you just get to swing. That again, I don't think that's how football works, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Again, Diggs, best wide receiver in the league. I mean, again, maybe Tyreek Hill. This is ridiculous, and this is what he's been doing for 3 to 4 years. He just hasn't had the quarterback and the offense to really take advantage of it. But this is, I mean, I don't. There's no receiver in the league who has made guys fall down more than Stefon Diggs. NFL cornerbacks creating 9, 10, just ridiculous amounts of separation. You just don't see it. No other receiver turns this into a touchdown. It through making the corner fall to the play after the catch. Again, the difference is Stefon Diggs. It's not hard. It's like, again, you add Kevin Durant to the Warriors. No one's like, why are the Warriors better this year? The only reason it becomes a quarterback conversation is because the way we count stats in sports, in football, the quarterback gets credit for everything. It's like if Steph Curry got credit for every point the Warriors scored on offense, no matter what. This isn't hard. More Diggs. I mean, again, this is like, Diggs sells like 6 different routes in this one play. I don't even know, honestly, what to call this and what he's doing. He reminds me a lot of of Kyrie Irving as a ball handler, where it's like, it just seems like savant shit. Like shit that like you wouldn't even teach people to do, because it's like I think actually studying great players is generally a good indication of like how to learn. Like Steph Curry does a lot of things I think a lot of shooters should learn from, even though people say, oh, only Steph Curry could do that. There's a lot of things he does that I think are good principles. A guy like Kyrie is like, I would never tell anyone to study Kyrie because he just does shit that's like so weird. And I kind of feel the same way about Diggs, where this route, like he's somehow selling like 5 different routes in this span, and it's all brilliant, and he's wide open, and like the defender's like confused, and because of that, it's a 19-yard gain. And then again, it's just this isn't. This is why this offense is so good now. Again, trying to, as best I can, while I'm trying to make the point of how important it is that the structure of the offense really and the surrounding talent really get the bulk of the credit and or blame depending on what's going on. Because again, they're the majority of the players. I obviously every elite offense also has at least a very good quarterback, if not an elite quarterback, because that's how you get a great offense, is pair a bunch of great talent together. And here you'll see what I really like about Allen, and I think he brings a ton of value on third down. And I've emphasized this point over and over again, but I love how he generally gives the structure a chance to win, but then doesn't panic when it doesn't and is able to continue to play. So I think you'll see here, I forget the exact concept, but what you're really going to see is he's going to want to throw this kind of little in slant and behind. It's kind of like a little pick play, basically. Kind of pick, whatever you want to call it. They're creating interference and then running in a slant behind it. What's great about this play is I like that Allen recognizes that he's got a guy driving down on this route. Okay, I can't throw that. Weirdly, the guy kind of overruns it. It's not a great angle taken by him, but that's not something you can really tell at the time you're about to throw it. Then he moves up, finds the guy, and makes a perfect throw. I mean, that's everything you want to see, to be able to recognize the guy driving, work up in the pocket, and make a perfect throw. And I really want to show the pocket angle because you can see Allen's decision making. Sees the route, knows the concept. I want to pull the trigger. Guy's driving there, pull it down. I'm going to work up in the pocket, shoulder reduce, love that, and then just make a nice little throw. Easy throw. Nothing special about that by any means. Guy's wide ass open now because of that angle the safety took. But yeah, I mean, that's great stuff. I can't give Josh enough credit for those types. Ended here with Stefon Diggs just roasting what is essentially a true double. Now, provide some context. These guys are both low, and he ends up winning high. They're kind of inside outing him essentially, and he wins deep. But not a lot of guys who will just beat a double team this badly. I mean, look at this. As far as Allen's throw, again, deep sideline throws. That's not those aren't easy throws. And I think that again, I don't think this is like some horrible miss. You'd like to see him hit it, obviously. That'd be nice, but there's still coverage there. It's not just completely wide open, especially with this guy inside. You probably don't feel super comfortable throwing it inside. I'm not going to kill Allen for this. Again, I think we need to have some level of reasonable expectation where if a guy literally, as long as a guy literally isn't just completely open, no one's covering him at all, throws down the sideline, 30, 40 yards downfield, those aren't high percentage throws. It's kind of like taking an open three-pointer. Even a wide open wing three-pointer, even for the best shooters, is like, a 40, 45% proposition. That's probably accurate for a throw like this. So have a reasonable expectation about how likely is Allen to complete this throw down the sideline. Now, if we're talking about a post route, that's different because you have the whole field. You're throwing over the middle. It's not as long a throw. There's all these things that go into it. And I think people are really bad about judging what's a difficult and what's an easy throw and having an expectation about, okay, how often should he hit this throw? So if the percentage on this throw should be, you'd have to, and that's why I think CPOE is a good idea. The way it functions, it clearly doesn't work. Like it's so obvious that the algorithm is bad when you go through the plays. It's so obvious that it doesn't work. If you could actually build a database, would be very, very difficult to do, and I'm skeptical you could actually do it, you might get a good idea of like how likely you would be to complete a throw like this. I would guess it's somewhere on the order of like 30 to 40%, even for a good quarterback. So then why are you angry if he misses it? It just, and I think part of it is what we see, and this will be my last point, is you're angry when a quarterback misses that throw, when the offense needs a quarterback to hit the 30 to 40% throws 100% of the time. And if your offense needs your quarterback to do that, your offense sucks, and it doesn't matter what your quarterback does. And that's where I think I'll leave it with that. And I think I just leave it with the last, sort of just wrapping up. I think Josh Allen's really good. I thought Josh Allen in the games I watched, I watched a handful of games from late 2019. I thought he was really good. I think a lot of people criticizing him just wanted to stick to their draft takes and could point to his completion percentage. And it's very Cam Newton-esque. You could point to the completion percentage, you could find a couple missed throws, and you could say, see, he's not accurate enough without taking into context the surrounding talent, the structure of the offense, what he was asked to do. And now this year, he's basically the same player. And he's just playing with one of the very best wide receivers to ever play the game, who helps the rest of the offense fit into a context and fits Josh Allen's skill set very, very nicely. So, whether the quarterback is playing at an MVP level, I think I'd put him just a tier below that. I don't think he's quite as good as the best as I've seen from Cam Newton, or the best as I've seen from Mahomes, or the best as I've seen from Rodgers. Those are and the best I've seen from Andrew Luck. Those are kind of my bars for quarterback play. I don't think he's quite there, but this is his third season for a guy who played, whatever the hell I forget what small college he went to. I think that he's going to be he very, very well could to get to that tier in the next few years, because a lot of quarterback play is just getting the reps, and I think he shows an intuitive understanding of the game where the more he sees it, the more he plays, the more he figures out what he can and can't get away with, and if he gets to continue to play with guys like Stefon Diggs, I do kind of feel like a little bit the sky is the limit for Josh.